Hey everybody, I'm Adam, and this is Think Club. What is the difference between an atheist and an anti-theist? That is the question that I am going to attempt to answer in this video. If you stay to the end, I have a teeny tiny bit of drama between myself and Rationality Rules. So I just wanted to put that out there, get it in a video while it's still fresh. But beginning here, we're going to be talking about the principle of morality binds and blinds, the principle laid out in Jonathan Haidt's best-selling book, The Righteous Mind. And I think this is the reason why we're having such a problem with fake news. You constantly hear about fake news, about people misrepresenting one another. I like to subscribe to the idea of Hanlon's razor, that if you can attribute something to stupidity or ignorance, it's better than blaming it on actual malice or bad intentions. That a lot of times people just really don't know what they're doing. And I think the morality binds and blinds principle very well articulates that just perfectly. So if you look at what is sacred about a group or an identity, a lot of their thinking revolves around trying to protect that. So I've laid out here a few of the groups. We'll go over those. Actually, let's go over the definition first, because this all goes back to Durkheim. Durkheim is the father of social psychology. He's the one that came up with this idea that a church isn't really, like, these moral communities aren't really about the worship of some supernatural entity. They're really about fostering a community, and that community fits into an evolutionary paradigm because multiple individuals obviously have a survival advantage over just one individual. And the larger your group size, theoretically, the better survival advantage that you have. So the definition of a religion that Durkheim uses, and it's the one that I tend to focus on too, because you learn so much more about the world when you embrace this definition. Durkheim defines a religion as a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things, and that's important because those sacred things are things where the morality binds and blinds principle comes into play. So relative to sacred things set apart and forbidden because you're building your entire ethic on top of it. So it's the foundation of your identity. It's the foundation of your identity group. All of your social interactions will relate around this. When you interact with people who share this belief, you'll be building relationships on that belief being true. It's very important. So things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite into one single moral community called a church, all those who adhere to them. So when you adhere to this foundation being true, you are becoming a part of a community, a community with a particular ethic. And this goes back to the difference between atheists and anti-theists, because the anti-theists really are a moral community. They are working on a premise that religion does more harm than good, that the world would be a better place without religion. So you see, I have these different communities outlined here, and I have their most important value, which is what you're looking for. So now I don't know how you would be an anti-religious activist if you did not believe that religion does more harm than good. If you believe that religion does more good than harm, then you wouldn't necessarily be an anti-religious activist. So this is what I look for when I'm trying to determine if someone is an anti-theist or not. Now, I am not an anti-theist. I am an atheist. I don't believe there is a God. I don't believe in supernatural forces. So I do share that in common with the anti-theists. But I think they are incorrect. I think they're making a claim here that religion does more harm than good, that the evidence does not support. And this is why I'm interested in debating them. But they are bound by this morality binds and blinds principle because they've built their entire community on it. Think about it. If your rationality rules and you have a community that is built. I mean, your rationality rules, your Shannon Q, your all these anti-theists, and you're building subscriber bases, you're building interactions with people. All of those people share this same principle. They all believe that religion does more harm than good. That is their sacred value. You're not going to change their minds on that, because if this turned out to be untrue, it would be the same as if the flat earthers admitted that the world was round. The whole community disintegrates, because that is the truth that their community is based on. Now, one of the reasons why I like this definition is because it's useful in politics too. The progressives have a most important value, fighting for the rights of the oppressed. And this is where a lot of the fake news comes from, because the journalists are bound into this progressive group where the most important value is fighting for the rights of the oppressed. It's not the truth. The truth isn't the most important value. So it really shades their, I'm using journalism in air quotes here, because like if anything, a moral community based around journalism would put the highest value as truth. You could put that in here. So we have a problem now that our journalists are no longer operating under the highest value being truth, objective truth, but they're progressives. Their highest value is fighting for the rights of the oppressed. So libertarians' highest value is individual freedom. Social conservatives' highest value is conserved tradition. Christians' highest value is Jesus died for our sins, which is an interesting one. Because if you're an atheist, you don't believe this. This is fiction to you as an atheist. But I would argue that it does less damage in the real world, the fact that it has this supernatural component to it, because it doesn't affect the real world as much as something like this progressive idea. And I do think fighting for the rights of the oppressed is good. I just don't think that you should sacrifice journalism for fighting for the rights of the oppressed. There's a time and a place to fight for the rights of the oppressed, and it's not every waking moment and making lies up in journalistic newspapers for your sacred value of progressivism. I think that's not the time to do it. So Morality Binds and Blinds is from Jonathan Haidt's book. I have a chapter here. I don't necessarily know why I put it out there, but so these different moral foundations, I know people who are hearing this for the first time might think that this is completely ridiculous. But Jonathan Haidt actually goes out of his way and backs these up with empirical studies. So he's formed this moral foundations questionnaire where he's asking different self-identified libertarians, different self-identified progressives, different self-identified conservatives, their values through survey work. And he's got them highlighted here so you can actually see the highest value. This thick line here is for libertarians. Their most sacred value is individual liberty, and you can see that on survey questions, they respond most strongly to the idea that we shouldn't limit our personal freedoms. So he's got that survey work to back this up. And progressives, you can see here, their highest value is something Jonathan Haidt calls care harm, where it's caring for people, this nurturant attitude that we've all inherited evolutionarily for raising our offspring. They apply to other people. So they're fighting. That's why they fight for the rights of victims and the oppressed. And the social conservatives they have an interesting foundation too, because it's preserving traditions, and therefore their moral foundations are much more spread out. If you think about it, if the tradition, like I've made an argument several times now that the idea of freedom of speech used to be something that conservatives were more skeptical of. The liberals wanted to burn flags and do things and do things that they thought would degrade their religious convictions. So they didn't like that, and they wanted to make that kind of speech illegal. I think they at one time rallied for a constitutional amendment against flag burning. But now that time has passed and freedom of speech has kind of become the tradition, the social norm, now they're the ones that are protecting freedom of speech because it is effectively the tradition now. And you have the people that are fighting for change. You have the progressives. They think the speech harms individuals, oppressed individuals. So therefore, they are against freedom of speech now because it goes against their most sacred values. So you can see the value of looking at the world this way. And that's one of the reasons why I've entertained it for so long, because I keep using it in the real world. I'm going to eventually make a video on why I actually knew that Donald Trump was going to win the election against Hillary Clinton very early on because of moral foundations theory. And I'll save that for a separate video. But so that is the difference between an atheist and an anti-theist. I am an atheist where I don't fall into really any of these moral foundations. I guess I'm really looking for truth. I guess I am one that's looking. I guess my most sacred value is truth, objective truth, and that's one of the reasons. That's my conflict with the anti-theist community, because I really do believe they are putting this value that religion does more harm than good over the value of truth, where I think science is based on truth, and it seems like a huge hypocrisy to me. So I think that's why it triggers me a bit. But so I'm going to talk a little bit about this rationality rules situation. Rationality rules had made a video about me, and he basically lies in the video. He takes a tweet of mine. I'm joking around with Shannon Q on Twitter, and I said something like, can I come troll your chat? Shannon Q had said, I'm doing a live stream soon. And I said something to the effect of, can I go? Great, I'll go troll your chat. And Rationality Rules used this in his video to say that I was a self-described troll, which is a lie. It's a total lie. I'm a YouTuber. I enjoy doing this stuff. I actually don't like doing ad hominem attacks on people. I like to stick to the arguments. My thumbnails and titles are bombastic. That's true. But I made several response videos to Rationality Rules, but I didn't attack him. I didn't make fun of him. I didn't do any of that. I attacked his arguments. So this complete poisoning of the well really, well, I mean, it triggered me, obviously, because it's untrue. And if you're standing under the banner of truth and science, it seems very unprofessional. So, and Shannon brought this up. So she, in Rationality Rules comment section, said, Adam doesn't troll me. Here's what she sent me. She sent me this shortly after the video came out. So I responded to Rationality Rules that Shannon had made him aware of the fact that this lie is effectively in his video. And, if he was an honest person, he would correct the record on this. And it's funny here because Rationality, I had not intended Rationality Rules to respond to this. I didn't tag him in it. I just was sharing my video. His video has over 100,000 views. My response video to his has only 13,000 views. So people are continually going to my comment section and saying that I am not legit. They're watching Rationality Rules video and basically getting a false impression of me that Rationality Rules has put out into the world. So I originally had talked to Shannon Q about doing a response video to this because she's the one that interacted with the tweet. I've done 3 live streams with Shannon Q, but Shannon Q really kind of threw me under the bus on this. Like, she is embedded in this moral community now where it's not right for her to speak to someone who denigrates their sacred value of religion does more harm than good. So they're not acting as honest interlocutors with me. But I think it's funny that Rationality Rules responded here because, so his response is, I have not spoken to Shannon Q about you ever. Furthermore, I maintain my criticism of you. So I don't understand how a lie, like a bold-faced lie, is criticism. Like, where does that come from? So, and not only that, he's making the argument that Shannon hasn't corrected the record, but his response here means that like he knows what is going on now. Like now it's obvious what's going on. So if he's not going to correct the record, then he is being dishonest. He's completely being dishonest. So that's enough drama. I will leave it there. I'm curious your thoughts on both this rationality rule situation and the morality binds and blinds principle. I am off to see in-game today, so I can stop avoiding spoilers. But I'll leave it there. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my video. I'm going to be posting daily content here on my personal channel. My main channel, Think Club, is still demonetized and I am working on getting that fixed. If you have suggestions for topics, you can leave those in the comments below. The amazing artwork that you're seeing here was done by Steph. She is a fantastic artist and she's working on a graphic novel that I wrote, and we will both be crowdfunding soon. So thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next video.
Well, first of all, if you don't have a purpose, it isn't that your life becomes neutral in a meaningless sense. It's that your life becomes characterized by unbearable suffering. Because the baseline condition of life is something like unbearable suffering.